Hola, hoy vamos a estudiar los verbos reflexivos. Un verbo reflexivo es una acción que se hace a sí mismo. En inglés significa a reflexive verb is a verb that describes an action done to or for oneself. An easy way to remember this is that when you look in the mirror, you are seeing your own reflection, you are seeing yourself. So connect the word reflection with yourself and may help you in the future. En inglés, un verbo reflexivo termina con la palabra self or selves y muestra que la persona hace la acción y también recibe la acción. So it's showing that the person is both doing the action but also receiving the benefit of the verb or that action, such as to wash oneself, to brush your own teeth, etc. En español, todos los verbos reflexivos tienen un pronombre reflexivo. The difference between reflexive verbs from other verbs that we've learned in the past is that all reflexive verbs have a reflexive pronoun included in that verb, with that verb. So, how to create this? We start with el infinitivo, the infinitive form, which ends in AR, ER, or IR, and then we have a reflexive pronoun attached to the end of that verb. And that's how you know that a verb is reflexive without even knowing what the meaning of the word is. So the reflexive pronoun is always the pronoun se when the verb is in its infinitive original form. Por ejemplo, bañarse significa to bathe oneself or to take a bath. So that is a reflexive verb right away, bañarse, without even knowing what it means. We know it's reflexive because of the se attached to the end. However, when you conjugate a reflexive verb, the reflexive pronoun goes before that conjugated verb and may change. We've actually been using this since the very beginning of Spanish 1, when you first learned the word, my name is, me llamo. So that word, that me in front of llamo, is a reflexive pronoun. Me llamo doesn't mean my name is, it actually literally means I call myself. So when I ask you, ¿Cómo te llamas?, I'm asking, what do you call yourself? Aquí puedes ver la conjugación del verbo bañarse en el presente. Bañarse otra vez significa to bathe. Me baño, I bathe myself, is what it literally means. Tú te bañas, you bathe yourself, or you bathe. Se baña, he or she bathes, or usted bathes. Nosotros bañamos, we bathe. Vosotros bañáis, y'all bathe. And se bañan, they bathe. Notice that the se for él y usted is not any different from ellos, ellas, ustedes. You have to pay close attention to the ending to figure out whether or not we're talking about él, ella, usted or ellos, ellas, ustedes, the ending of the verb, the N or without an N. Por ejemplo, Jorgito takes a bath at 8. Jorgito se baña a las 8. So by adding that se in there, we know that he's doing this to himself. No one is helping him. Ahora, ¿qué se hace cuando hay dos verbos? Now, if there are two verbs next to each other in the same sentence, meaning there's a reflexive verb that follows a conjugated verb, you have to continue to change the reflexive pronoun, as in make sure it matches up with the person doing the action, as you saw in the previous chart. In other words, if I'm talking about yo, I still need to change it to me, and then I'm going to use the infinitive of the verb as we're used to doing. So the placement of the reflexive pronoun, instead of putting it in the front, we're going to attach it to the end of the infinitive verb. Por ejemplo, what time do you want to wake up? We have two verbs here, to want and to wake up. Quieres es el verbo conjugado. Quieres is our conjugated verb. And then, just like in English, I wouldn't say, what time do you want you wake up? I have to leave despertar, the word to wake up, in the infinitive form. But I do want to change the se. Instead of saying despertarse, I change it to despertarte. So I'm going to keep that te at the end of my infinitive verb, but I do need to change it because I'm talking about you. Pero también se puede poner el pronombre reflexivo antes del verbo conjugado. I do have another option here. If it doesn't make sense to you or you're confused, just remember that the pronoun always goes in front of a conjugated verb or the end of an infinitive verb. I want to wake up at 7, so that's the same sentence as before. But instead of saying quiero despertarme, which I could say perfectly, and that's nothing wrong. There is nothing wrong with that sentence. But I can also put the me in front of my conjugated verb, quiero, and here would be me quiero despertar. What I can never do is write quiero me despertar. It either goes in front of both verbs or at the end of the second verb. Ahora, ¿cuándo se necesita usar un verbo reflexivo? So how do you know when a verb is going to be reflexive or not? And this goes back to the first slide where I told you think about if it reflects back on you. If you're thinking about a mirror, is it reflecting what you're doing? So a reflexive verb reflects back on the person doing the action to or for him or herself. So if it's done to somebody else, then it's not reflexive. La diferencia entre I wake myself up at 7 or I wake up Celia at 7. So in this case, is the first sentence reflexive or the second sentence reflexive? Try to take a moment to pause the screen and see if you can figure out the answers. Ahora miren, I wake myself up at 7 is a reflexive verb because I'm doing it to myself. It reflects back to me. Me despierto a las 7. I wake up Celia at 7. Now I get rid of the me. It's no longer needed because I'm not doing the action to myself. I'm waking Celia up at 7, not myself. So I write despierto a Celia a las 7. The a in between despierto and Celia is called the personal a. We've used it before when we say a mí me gusta, for example. It's used whenever I'm affecting another person in Espanol. If you're still having trouble with this concept, please go to the other videos on the Google community and watch them to see if you can get some other ideas. Also, don't forget to complete the quiz found below this video on the Google community. Adios.